So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed Jason Meyer's preaching, and I'm sorry you missed it. Hopefully, you can pick it up on the podcast because it was wonderful. It always is, but it was a wonderful invitation, and in the context of the whole service, which had wonderful music and had opportunity for silence and contemplation. It had prayers of confession, um, in which we acknowledged how much we can do and how we often try not to. How we talk about our desire for a new thing, and yet we hang on to the old, or we're afraid to step into the new. And within the context of that kind of service, we heard the story of Mary at the foot of Jesus rubbing nard into his feet. Nard that was worth a year's wages for a common worker. Um, and we heard as Judas was upset that that money could have been used for the poor. And we began to engage in that. When are we to give ourselves to the poor, to the causes, to justice, to passion, to those things in the world that we can change? And when are we to give ourselves into those times of spiritual contemplation, personal transformation? When do we just sit at the foot of the Lord? And when are we out in the street with bread? And Jason read or contemplated a passage from Judges in which there are two pools. A gift of land that is barren and dry is lovely, but the daughter of the patriarch asks for more because this gift is worth nothing to us, and so she gets the two springs. And so Jason invited us to wonder about how we can be both and how we need both, not just the two springs, but we need that time at the foot of Jesus, but just being there and never bringing bread to the hungry, well, that seems meaningless. But just tunneling on bringing bread to the hungry means that we also forget about the presence of God right in front of us. Today we wondered about personal transformation and also about how we transform the world and how we can have both. In fact, that is the invitation that God makes to us in Jesus. Jason made that clear, and Jason invited us to consider how is it that we can have both? And why is it sometimes we want to focus on one entirely at the expense of the other? It was a beautiful morning, and I'm sorry that you weren't with us. But I encourage you this week to wonder about such things. Where are your moments of personal transformation? When do you metaphorically sit at the foot of the Lord and acknowledge your relationship to God? Allow it to transform you. And when do you move out into the world, providing that spring that brings water and life to the desert? When do you come before God as hungry, and when do you go forth feeding the world because there are hungry people all around us? I invite you to think about it, not because there's an obvious answer or a simple answer, but because we together strive for balance. We strive not to sacrifice one for the other, but to make both possible, because the promise of God is that both are possible. So knowing that, surely we can figure it out. But that's for your contemplation, and hopefully you'll bring your thoughts to us, and we'll get to see you soon because we miss you. So until we see you, know that we think of you and know that you are not alone. But please come soon because we'd love to see you.